Hey y'all, it's Redneck 109. Hey, what I'm doing is I'm doing the KLX needle project. I'm gonna take the carburetor off and basically re-needle and rejet the carburetor. Also, one of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a manual choke. I'm gonna take the whole choke or Enricher, whichever you prefer, assembly off the motorcycle and put in a manual one. So that all I have to do is reach down in there and adjust it manually versus using what's on the handlebars. The reason for that is that for whatever reason mine is temperamental and doesn't seem to want to work right, rather than waste my time trying to recable it and diagnose it and all the other stuff. I'm just going to go with a manual choke from Stead Engineering. So that's just my plan. That's what this vlog and project is about. Basically, I already have the bike apart down to the bones. The next thing I'll be doing is taking the carburetor actually off the bike. You can see the gas tank's gone, the fenders are gone, the fairings are gone, and it's all been just taken apart. And so what we have is basically a naked bike. And then there's the carburetor there, and you can see it's packed in there pretty good. I think initially I wasn't too concerned about the crash bars, but now I'm kind of worried about it a little bit. However, I think I can squeeze the carburetor out of there, out of that gap right there. So it should be good to go. I won't bore you with actually, videotaping the whole removal of the carburetor too much. I mean, I'll do some of it. There's a lot of videos out there. One that I believe Windman does that I'll link in the description, and he's got about there's no way I could show it to you any better. The only perspective you would have from me is that it's from the, my perspective of a noob. I'm a noob mechanic. I'm learning as I go, and that's one of the things I like about the KLR is it's a pretty simple bike, and you can get right in there. You can do it yourself, and it's pretty easy. You almost can't mess it up. If you do mess it up, all you gotta do is find a YouTube channel like mine, and somebody will show you how they did it and what worked for them. So we'll go through it, and we'll see what it looks like. We'll see what happens. So enjoy. Okay, so what I did was, the first thing I did was I took the throttle cable off the carburetor, and then I put the original screw back in, which was here. Oh, we can see that. And then just folded the throttle and throttle cables out of the way. Now what's next is some tubing that's on the carburetor, and those are the vacuum tube and the gas tube. And I'm not sure, this tube here with the white line, I'm not sure exactly what that is or where that goes. It goes down to, no, I don't know exactly. So that's what I have out at this point. And the next thing will be loosening the carburetor boots on each side. There's two boots, two rubber boots. The back one is the more flexible of the two, so that's where you can actually make the movement to get the carburetor out of there, and then we're going to hope that the SW Motec crash bars don't get in the way. So we'll see what happens. Okay, this little tube here, this vacuum tube, just gotta be real gentle with it, get that clamp off. Try not to pull too hard. And it'll just separate from the carburetor. It's nice and easy. And there you go.
Be careful too, like you can see, there's that brass fitting underneath, and you don't want your pliers or your grips or whatever to mar that up at all. If you do, you probably just clean it with a little real fine grit, as fine as you have, sandpaper. Then of course, just fold it out of the way, and then you're ready for your next step, which I'm going to loosen these two boots, and then go around and take off the enricher cable. Here's the first one. You just want to you just want to loosen that just enough to get a little movement out of it, so you can back it away from that boot. I mean, it's already loose enough. You don't want to loosen it all the way, and it just pops right over the edge. Move that down with your fingers. Same way on the one on the front of the carburetor. Again, just moving it just enough so that you got the play. You can already see whether you got a little bit of play in the carburetor already. And once we get around to the other side, I'm going to loosen up that enricher cable. Hopefully I can get in there, and we'll be good to go. So as you can see, that convoluted mess inside there is the carburetor from the left side of the motorcycle. And you know, you almost can't, I see where the enricher cable goes to the carburetor, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to get my fingers in there, or even a pair of pliers in there for that matter. And then two, you can see where those two, this one here coming off goes to the carburetor, and this here goes to the carburetor. This is the vacuum tube from the petcock on the gas tank, and this is the gas from the gas line from the gas tank through the petcock then and down into the carburetor. Now what I did is I put a piece of green tape on the one for the gas. Now you can look at them and you can see the difference between the two, but better safe than sorry for me. And like I said, you can see the difference there, and hopefully here in a second I will show you how I was successfully able to get the enricher cable off there, and that's put this camera down in there really good if you can see that. That's it right down in there. So I'm going to move that vacuum line out of the way, and then hopefully I can get a good pair of pliers in there. Since I'm replacing it, I don't care too much about damaging it. However, I do need to reuse some of the guts of the enricher cable that actually go into the carburetor for the manual pull from Stead Engineering. So we'll see. Okay, just real quickly, one of the things that I've discovered too is that in order to get at that enricher cable, there's a little cap that covers the actual fastener part, and then this case, this cover here needs to come off as well. So take that off, and that covers some fuses and stuff there. So it's basically, it looks like your electrical supply to the bike, to the engine, all that stuff. Also, one of the things I didn't mention earlier is that when you're doing any good KLR project, it's best to have really good quality thinking juice on hand for your project. It's a must. Cheers. So hopefully I'll be able to get that off here in just a second and let you know how it goes. Okay, so you can see down in there really good, I hope you can, where that enricher cable hits the carburetor. That plastic screw there, and it is plastic, and it's as cheap as you can get it, I suppose.
I gave it just a little bit of a turn with a pair of needle nose pliers, maybe like 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches needle nose pliers, and well, it just came loose. Now I've heard horror stories about people having to trying to get theirs apart, and for whatever reason, mine just came right apart, and it was loose enough that the end of that screw, that nylon screw head or whatever, bolt head or whatever you want to call it, has grooves in it, and it just came out just like literally like that in my hand. So I'm kind of wondering if that may have been my problem with why it wasn't working right. And then as you can see, it looks a little bent. So I don't know if it's supposed to flop around like that or not, but it came right out. So after I get done with this, then and you can see too where the cables route. You know, I don't know if every bike is like that, and there's these little half circle clips where the cable mounts in and out of and just pulls right out. One thing I haven't mentioned so far too is now that you have, you know, the bike down to this far, there's a little sticky note in the maintenance section on KLR650.net about all the notorious or most common rub spots for the KLR. So go download that, print it out, put it on your smartphone, however you want to do it, and then go through that list while you've got the bike all the way apart like this, and make sure you're not rubbing anywhere. My bike's only got 6,000 miles on it. It still needs to be done. I'm going to do it. I won't, you know, trouble you all with watching that horror vlog, but you know, now's the good time to go through it. Now probably wouldn't be a bad time also to do a valve check. I don't know that I'm capable of doing that. I'll probably have somebody come over and help me do that. Of course, I'll vlog it, but that'll be in the near future, so look for that one. So now we're almost ready to take that carburetor off, and I may have to loosen one of the engine mounts there on the other side, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so now that we've got that, I've got that Enricher cable out, and just kind of move it off to the side, and then what we're going to do is you can kind of see in there the carburetor still in there, and that vent hose is off, and pretty much it's ready to go. Just manipulate it out from the other side. I have pushed it a little bit, so it's kind of popped out already on the other side, and we're just going to rotate it around. I'm going to move the camera around to the other side, and then we'll just pull that thing out. We'll see. I'm pretty sure it's going to clear the crash bar. But looking at it from this side, I probably will end up taking that crash bar off the other side just when I'm putting it back in, so it doesn't, so I don't have to manipulate it too hard or try and force it or anything like that, because that's the last thing you want to do is force it in there or or do anything that will cause any damage to the tubing or the carburetor or anything else for that matter. So. So you can see there how the carburetor is actually already kind of popped out even. And what I'm going to do is just get in there and twist it a little bit and pull it a little bit, and should come right out. And then we'll go on to step 2 and start taking the carburetor apart. I'm just going to pull the top toward me, rotate the bottom, get my thumb in there and break that seal around the front, and just basically pull it right out, break the seal around the back. Just kind of rotate it down, Just go with it, go slow with it, and you'll feel it come out, and it just pops right out. Have to manipulate it just a little bit to get it past the crash bar, and out it comes. There it is. So you can see, even with the tubing still attached, I was able to manipulate it around the crash bar. But like I said, from looking at it, it is going to be difficult, I think, to go in reverse, meaning putting that carburetor back in. I'm probably going to have to take probably this part of the engine mount out too, just to give me a little extra room. And like I said, I don't want to tweak anything on the side of the carburetor. It doesn't look like there's much to damage there, but you never know. So look for part 2. Part 2, I'm going to take the carburetor apart and put in the KLX needle kit and rejet it and see how that goes. So please comment, like, and subscribe.